what on earth are we doing? So in this session, we will just try to have a few statements and discuss a few statements and see what we can do. But also the purpose is to get your heart rate ticking a little bit higher. Maybe of excitement, maybe of frustration, I don't know. But that's the purpose. So we want to get you involved as well, so I'll try to do that. But with me here, so I'm Johan Roos, right? But with me here first, I have two fantastic experts. I mean, global renowned experts. Now let them introduce themselves. So Deborah, would you just have 1 minute to introduce yourself?
Okay, excellent. Well, welcome everyone. It's wonderful to see you. I am Deborah Piscione, based in Silicon Valley. I'm a serial entrepreneur, investor, and wrote that book that many of you have in front of you called Employment is Dead. So I can assure you this will be a lively conversation, but it's lovely to be in front of you today.
Brian, please.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Brian Solis. I'm the head of global innovation at a company called ServiceNow. I'm also a long-time practicing futurist and digital anthropologist, and I am still a student of AI.
Fantastic. Aren't we all, in a sense? So why am I here? I'm here because I'm sort of partly involved in the Drucker Forum and organizing and some of the research we do here. But I'm also here because I have an interest in AI as well. And I've just also handed in a manuscript of a book called Human Magic, Leading with Wisdom in a World of Algorithms. So at least I will also have a few views on this. But anyway, we'll do it this way. We'll start with a couple of claims. So we start with one claim, and I've pushed them, and I said, don't come here with some headlines. I want to have a strong claim so you can shake people up a little bit. And then we'll see if you are shaken up, and see if you have any views of this as well. But we'll just play it a little bit by ear. So I've invited Brian to make a strong statement and see if it has any impact on you, and we'll take it from there. Brian, you have 3 minutes.
3 minutes to see if I make an impact. All right, fantastic. Well, I'm also going to make an impact because I'm the only one who hasn't promoted a book yet. So my new book is called Mind Shift, and it's really important for what we're going to talk about. My statement is that CEOs are on a path to automating their way out of a job. And I believe that is the case because they are using artificial intelligence, at least in initial series of pilots, to do what they did yesterday better tomorrow. Cheaper, faster, more scalable. And what I fear that they are doing is making AI more manageable, i.e. more efficient, versus effective and competitive. Because I believe that the true value in artificial intelligence is actual business transformation, and I think that's the CEO's job to understand what's possible here tomorrow. And if we only do what we did yesterday better tomorrow, we can't reinvent tomorrow. So I believe that this is a time to reimagine your competitiveness, to build a moat for your organization, and more importantly, to build a future for the future of knowledge work and the knowledge worker, to make them not just augmented with AI as a co-pilot, but help them become augmented with AI to unlock new value.
Okay, good. So, surprise, shaken up? No? Take 1 minute and talk to your neighbor. The CEO is going to automate themselves out of their job. That's what you said, Brian. Your reaction. 2 minutes around the table. Right there. I think that's good. Yeah. Who's this guy from New York Times? Mother seller. Okay? There's going to be a lot of interrupted conversations today, but what do you think? We can do a quick sort of gallop right away. Who agrees with Brian? Don't be ashamed. Go on. All right, good. Who do not agree with Brian? Ah, a majority. Perfect. All right, good. So we'll take the disagreements, Brian. All right. So there's a microphone here. I think we need to speak into the microphone, no matter how great voices you have. So, will you please? Super, thank you. We'll just pass it around. So please disagree properly now.
Hi, thank you for that thought. I was only saying that as a CEO, we have a lot of work below the line in the organization, which is reviews and business. The speed of inference is much faster, so I reduce a lot of my time. So I will automate a lot of that work so that I can make decisions. But the other part above the line, which is to build change and how will the future of my product be, how can I change the way I go to market, that's where I take most of my time. So I would automate a lot of things below the line so that I could spend more time leading the business. So I half agree with you.
Wonderful. How old is your company?
44 years old.
That's amazing.
Second generation, and so I struggle with this every day.
This is fantastic. You're a blueprint for other CEOs.
That's what you get for disagreeing with you. Thank you very much.
We're too nice to each other. All right, come on. Next disagreement, please. Don't be afraid. There were a lot. Can we get the microphone here so I don't have to leave mine? We're always nice to each other. We can play a little bit as well. It's okay to be tough. Come on.
Well, I think one part is to become more efficient as a CEO doing admin stuff, but then a role of a CEO is also to lead. And to lead through AI, I'm not sure whether that works, so I disagree.
Okay, do you want to pick up on that?
I think the CEOs are acting more like managers and focusing more on shareholders and stakeholders than they are the actual true stakeholders. I think that AI can augment a CEO's role to actually lead versus manage, and the way that I would define leadership is unlocking the new vision to create enterprise or corporate value. And if we do what we did yesterday better with artificial intelligence, we're extending yesterday's value versus creating new value.
Happy? No? Still unhappy?
Partially. We're also a family company, 194 years old, so it's kind of the family part, the social part still, I believe, is very important.
Okay. I know there's one over there, I think.
Bernhard Straub, CEO of the Robert Bosch Foundation. My role is being the change, so I wonder how AI can be a CEO.
That's a great question. AI cannot feel empathy. AI cannot feel regret. Therefore, AI cannot be a CEO. I would say that there's a famous quote from IBM in 1979 that said that a machine can never be accountable, therefore a machine can never make a management decision.
Which year was that, Brian?
1979.
And you still think that's valid?
It's making decisions today, which is why we're losing our cognitive capabilities.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that. All right. Any other disagreement on this statement? Go ahead, Mike.
Hi, my name is Marin. I'm actually managing a business school in Luxembourg. So I would disagree with several things in the question, actually, in the core premise. Number one, the CEO you're referring to is either a very lousy CEO, right? And therefore will be replaced by many other things before AI, including his, but really, including his N-1 of any choice. But my point is actually, I would answer your sort of thesis by telling what I tell my students always. And that's, they can use any tools available out there. I encourage them, but I will now assess them assuming they're using the best versions of it, assuming they have the $200 ChatGPT, whatever subscription. So basically, the whole point here is it's just going to require much more from people than it did so far. I think this whole idea of removing the human out of the whole element just feeds into what Sam Altman's trying to sell us, that we're actually going to have AGI anytime soon. Let's first fix Tesla's not driving through the wall and stuff like that and interacting with the physical environment. So I highly disagree with the premise.
Fantastic.
In the next 10 years, at least.
Fantastic, fantastic. And Tesla will, of course, stop driving through the wall now when the boss got a minor bonus as well. So, but, all right, Brian, just argue back. Can you do that?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, it's hard to debate when so much of this sounds like common sense. But historically, most CEOs have performed quarter to quarter. They do suffer from short-termism. They do not look at long-term value creation because it actually goes against most business models. So the premise, which, by the way, took me a while to come up with something that would be debatable because I'm usually the nice guy,
I push them.
I worked in innovation my whole career. And so I have watched CEOs not push the envelope, not reinvent themselves, and actually do quite well for themselves, not be replaced when I actually wanted them to be replaced. And when they were replaced, they were given golden parachutes, $20, $30 million packages to leave.
Okay, with that number, I want to shift over to you, Deborah, and see if we can get another. I think you have a nice statement or claim up your sleeve, or actually printed. Over to you.
Oh, okay. You don't want to share what that is before? All right. If you disagreed with Brian, you're really going to disagree with me. I often play the part of contrarian, but I'm going to tell you this. Don't shoot the messenger. I sit in Silicon Valley and I breathe, sleep, dream, AI, Web3, blockchain, and now humanoids. So this book, Employment and Dead, that some of you are going to be able to take home with you, is really about how disruptive technologies are going to revolutionize the way we work. But now I'm going to claim we have to think about the way we're going to live on top of that. I don't think we're going to be able to divorce one from the other. The book came out in January. We thought we would have a 5-year run rate. But very quickly, Reid Hoffman was saying his predictions that jobs as we know it, work as we've known it over the last 150 years, is going to completely go away. Now he's revised that claim to say in the next 2 years, job is going to go away. Dario Almaday from Anthropic is talking about how 50% of white-collar jobs for entry-level workers are going to go away. We're seeing that at McKinsey and Goldman Sachs and many other firms. And then Sam Altman now talks about jobs are going away full stop. So the Silicon Valley thinking is AI is going to do the doing. Humanoids, which I've been asked not to talk about, is going to do the physical labor. So there's a new economic reality. When cognitive work, the average worker is $50 an hour, and AI is now 10 cents an hour. That's a very basic cost. And then you have APIs that lay over that. So it does get a little bit more expensive. That's the new economic reality. We were looking at humanoids that were costing $75,000 and $100,000 coming out of the US. Now out of China, they're less than $6,000. So if you can hire a humanoid to do the work, physical work, or to serve coffee at a cost lower than holiday rate that works 24/7, never stops, doesn't complain, doesn't go on vacation, you don't need to give it health care. There is a new economic reality that is coming. Adoption is obviously going to take much longer in other places, but from where I sit in Silicon Valley, it is happening far faster than we expected. Some of you may have caught the news this morning about Elon Musk and his $1 trillion payout. It's not about the money. What it is the race for China and to push workers faster and to have this all happen faster because we've got to beat China. Either way, the genie is out of the bag. We're heading towards unprecedented territory. And I think the reality is that this is a wake-up call to understand where the world is heading and how organizations back into that.
Fantastic. I hope your heart rates are ticking one way or another. So take another 2 minutes and talk about what Deborah just said. Employment is dead. There's something coming here. We're going from generative to agentic to physical AI with amazing robots. All right? 2 minutes and talk about it. What do you think? Agree? Disagree? Microphone. Where's the microphone? Who's got the microphone? Perfect. Yeah. All right. Cool it. Let's relax. Get the pulse down a little bit. Yeah.
Thank you, Johan, for those provocations. But they're not what we're really here for. It's not about what Silicon Valley tells us. They have told us so many things. I am skeptical. They didn't deliver on what they had promised. They said jobs are going to be over.
Look at Deborah.
The Silicon Valley said many, many things, and I haven't seen it. What we haven't seen predicted was, for instance, the huge impact of social media. Nobody knew, and so we don't really know what's going to happen. What I would like to know in this session is, what does a CEO actually do with AI that he didn't do before?
Deborah.
So we're going to get to that next. We're going to talk about AI adoption, at least I am, or whether you build, buy, partner, or do a hybrid. How often do you play around with AI? It's up. Okay, so there's your answer right there. It's extraordinary. It has absolutely gotten to this place of extraordinary. If I can tell a very quick story, I have saved so much time because of AI. Don't put your head down yet. You got to listen. You at least got to understand that I asked it, give me an idea where there's a void in the marketplace. And I said, I love dogs. Give me some ideas around dogs. And Claude, which knows me very well, it's read my books, it's read my work with McKinsey and just things that I've done around the world, came back and found the exact gap in the marketplace. It did things around older dogs or dogs with mobility. I found an idea, and then I said, well, where's the patent opportunity for this? I have many dear friends who are patent attorneys. It not only looked at existing patents in the space, it looked at past patents, and then it developed the entire patent application. And all I had to do was click on a link for the U.S. Trade and Patent Office to file it and pay the fee. I mean, it's really extraordinary what a time saver it is. So as a CEO, all of those administrative tasks or things that you need to think about with regards to innovation, it is absolutely your co-pilot to help you get there a lot faster and to think a lot more creatively.
Okay, good. It's okay. I will now hand you my precious microphone.
That's about business. What does he do to implement what he is trying to find, the new market? That means reorganization. How is AI going to help him in that?
It can help him or her in the variety of ways. Anything, I'm on a board. They wanted to bring a consultant in to do a strategic plan for the next 6 months. And I said, what are you going to pay a consultant for? Because Alex and I were having this conversation about the future of consultancies. And we already are seeing Bain and Boston Consulting Group and ex-McKinsey starting to build AI for management consulting. All you have to do is have AI listen in on your meetings with your executives. If it's a strategic plan that you need, it will take the notes. It will listen to what everybody's saying. There can be disagreement, and it will develop your strategic plan literally in a minute. It's extraordinary. Anything from decision-making and looking at challenges, it will be that co-pilot, and then you can make the determination on the best course of action.
So, Lenka, you have the microphone.
Hi. So first of all, I love you both. I agree with everything that you say, but I disagree with this one. I have a question. So we talk about the narrative. AI is going to take your jobs. Silicon Valley is thinking this, that way. It's economically favorable, whatever. So we talk also about accountability. So my question is, where is our human accountability in this whole dialogue? Because AI is a technology. It's not really taking our jobs. We are giving jobs to AI. If I'm not a CEO, I'm chief of staff to the CEO. If I would be CEO, it would have to be my decision to automate something with AI. So we should also have responsibility for us as human beings, as society. That should transcend this Silicon Valley mathematics. So my question is, what do you think about our accountability as humanity, human beings, and then who will actually rule the world? Do you really want to give up and give everything to AI? That's my question.
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's something that's being debated all the time. We've really had cognitive work over the last 50 years, depending on where you think it begins. But prior to that, we've had various revolutions or transformations that we've experienced in work, and cognitive work is starting to be edged out by AI. So from a human standpoint, or just humanity in general, we are going to have to think about what this next iteration of the, from the Industrial Revolution to the cognitive revolution, we had agricultural revolution, we had building. I almost believe that we're going to come full circle in a building capacity. We have so many issues to solve now that are solvable right now. We don't need to be commuting to work 5 days a week. We can be working within a 5-kilometer radius. We can be growing our own food, and I'm dead serious about that. We can have communal living. Things are going to be radically different in the future, and it is a lot of unknown. And some of the work that I really focus on now is what is that new economic model in the future? If we're not going to get a paycheck, how are we going to live? What does that look like? I don't want to receive UBI. I want to contribute. I want to contribute in meaningful ways. So unfortunately, again, I try to really convey, I'm just sharing from where I sit what is happening. Whether a company or, a country elsewhere adopts this 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, it's happening.
So Deborah, going back to our title here, the CEO Guide to Using AI, could you sort of turn it a little bit into that? So what?
So the CEO, and I think Brian's going to get into this as well, there is the potential to reduce headcount. There is the opportunity to magnify productivity exponentially with less people. And it is that job of the CEO not only to think of him or herself as the innovation head, but also has an incredible mindset and adaptability around AI. And I think that's part of the problem, and I don't want to get into your territory, but a lot of these CEOs who are heading companies right now are not right for the future. And they can't understand what that AI strategy needs to be, and that's going to be in my next point.
Okay,
So-
good. All right. So there will be more questions. We will soon open this up. We'll do another round. But then if I'm now provocative, I have to be provocative myself. Right? But provocative myself. I'll also make a claim. And I will say that all professionals, leaders included, have a choice to make. To use AI in a way that either amplify their capacities, all the basic capacity they have, or use it in a way that will erode it. And that erosion risk is present and real, and I think a real danger. There's research, not just the research I've done, but there's research now on people using generative AI tools and then actually doing what's called cognitive offloading. They're using the brain muscle a little bit less than before, and that has been measured now. There's some studies at MIT, which is not a lot of people yet, but it's showing a tendency that if you don't use your muscles, you will atrophy. And the same thing with your brain. Some people call that brain rot. I think that's exaggerating because I think it can be worth it. So that is, in a sense, a choice you have to do. And you have to do it every day when you're trying to be curious, you're trying to be creative, you're trying to be critical in your thinking, when you communicate, and when you collaborate, and soon collaborate with agents as teammates. As the Salesforce Amazon boss said this summer. Soon they are here, and now they're here. So there's a choice to be made, how you do this. If you don't make it, you will erode your capacity. That's my claim. And it will happen over 1,000 unconscious choices you make. Namely, sooner or later, you will ask, not just what you asked, Deborah, you played it out. What's our strategy? You will ask sooner or later, what should I think of? And that's already happening. With young people, there's data on this right now. Young people are starting to use generative AI at work. They're excited they can generate a report. They skip the grunt work. Colleagues are saying, oh, great work. And suddenly they get addicted to this. You have to do this to perform more and more and more. Parmi Olson, who wrote a really good book in 24, has seen this in practice, good stories about this. And then eventually they start to use it at home. So I have this budget. Which restaurant should I use? I have this thing. What should I go? I have this problem with my girlfriend or boyfriend. How should I deal with it? And eventually, what should I think? Right? So this is happening in real. So the choice is, how will you do it? How will leaders do it? And all professionals in the sense. But there's hope. You can use AI in ways that will amplify and augment your curiosity, your creativity, your critical thinking, the way you communicate, and the way you collaborate. Absolutely. But it will take a lot of work right now. And not everybody's doing that. That's my claim. Do you want to take 2 minutes and talk about that and see if you agree, disagree, want to throw some tomatoes or whatever? 2 minutes.
Then after this, we get back to Brian, and then maybe we bounce a little bit. You decide what you want to do next, Brian.
I think what I'd like to do is have a conversation with the audience
We don't have to. So could this be the thing? Should I ask you the same question? What should CEOs be thinking about when they integrate AI? Because I think you can play on that one also, right?
Yeah, I'll
Because then I can say one for Brian and then you. Okay. And then I say, and then we can have questions or we can have a dialogue. Do you think that makes sense with this? Why don't we take after this, so it's the CEO's guide to integrate. Perfect. Dialogue with Brian. So let's do a guide. Then we address it next time.
Okay. Where's the microphone? So, ladies and gentlemen, shoot. Who wants to say something? There's something over here.
I have a couple of thoughts together. If all this future is true, we're going to live longer. life expectancy is changing. We're here considering all the time, what are we going to do, what are we going to do, but we're going to have more time. So I think humanity is going to be forced to find purpose. Life expectancy changes with 8 billion people on the planet. If you live 5 more years, think about how much money more you need. God forbid if you're in 3D TikTok all the time, but we're going to do something with this. So the idea we keep talking about is also looking at it from legislation. What if there is an idea that if you're a company and you're creating artificial intelligence or robotics to take jobs, your tax structure is different. If I'm a CEO and I'm going to pay a higher tax for just creating efficiency on my bottom line, then I have to think about where I'm going to apply this. Am I going to use artificial intelligence to help humanity? Then I have a different tax. If I'm going to use this to increase my profit, I have a different tax. But that feedback loop will change the way we think. And we're trying to imagine a future with no feedback loop on legislation. So I rest my case.
Totally okay. I mean, fantastic ideas and discussion. Can we just park that? Because we will get into more stuff. I want to get feedback on what I said. Oh, Roman from Poland.
Thank you, Johan. I think that this is the most interesting discussion and session during these 2 days, and I'm sitting and I'm listening to what is discussed, but I'm also listening to the questions and reading the comments on social media and so on, and coming like to the basic provocative statement of Brian and your summary now. Yeah? I'm really like sitting here and thinking, and I'm getting more and more pessimistic about us as a group, like we are being here, but still optimistic about the world in general. Yeah? So for me, the progress of humanity is growing like geometrically, and now with AI we can really get into another phase. And but what does it mean? We have to change the way we work. We have to change the way we manage. Our business models will change, the average lifetime of the company will shorten, and so on and so on. Huh? Some of us, some of the CEOs can change, adopting AI, changing the way they work. But I'm pessimistic to think that a lot of us, founders of businesses, CEOs, tend to believe that they are where they are, we are where we are because we are so good, we are genius, and we want to have another tool saving us some time, increasing our capacities a little bit, but still believing that we will do our job as we did it, that it's our decisions, our feelings who make the companies prosper and the world go on. And this is not true anymore. This won't be true anymore. So I'm expecting that AI will automate most of us out of the job, but not because the jobs will disappear. They will be taken over by younger people, AI native people who really will use the tools in a different way. Some of us will be part of that, but most of us will be swept by a tsunami. The question is only how fast it will come. Sorry for saying that.
I love this cheerful comment, but thank you, Roman. Of course, it's very, very serious. There are issues. We will get to the CEO's guide soon, right? But this is what you get when you have CEOs in the room. It's perfect, perfect. Any other comment on what I said about the erosion risks and it's happening every day, or the other way around? There's one over here.
I think that the erosion risk is real, but I think this is a time for deep reflection about what about human beings we value. Some things we might lose, and we think we're losing something, but I can't add in my head the way I used to when I was a kid, but I don't feel I've lost something to it. So some of the things that will just be changes will be okay, and other ones won't be. So I think that there's a need for us to reflect about what about being human we really value, so that we can preserve it. One of the challenges, just to build on a few of the things people have mentioned that I see, I talk to a lot of tech leaders. And one of the things I heard last year was tech leaders were frustrated that their CEOs weren't listening to them enough about the need to lean into AI. This year, a lot of them are actually worried about the CEOs pushing for AI, but they're not sure they signed up for some of the consequences they see that are coming. So there's this sort of competitive drive to keep doing things because your competitors will do it otherwise. But at the same time, how do you find the way to integrate humanity into that?
Okay, super good. So we'll take one more question just to get it. There's Kevin here, another CEO.
So I think it's ultimately a choice. I think I've seen it's making me smarter, but that's a choice. I'm using it to learn. You can lose it to offload, and you're going to get dumber. But I think there's a third of people that choose not to use it at all. They're going to be in real trouble, right? Because they're going to be less efficient than the offloaders and not as smart as the learners. So I think there's three categories, and the one that ignores is the real danger.
Okay, good. Shall we take another comment here? Priyanka? I know every name in the old. No, I'm just kidding. Come on.
Yeah, so I want perspective from both the panelists on MIT's report, which we all must have, come across. It says 95% of Gen AI pilot programs have failed, and they fail to generate strategic value in the business system. And also the fact that it was not about the AI tech failing, but it was about the integrating challenges. Okay, so that puts a lot of onus on, back to CEO, back to managers, back to leaders. But what would be your thought to lead it? Yeah.
Okay, super good.
Thank
I
you.
think we'll just go back to you guys and point to the title of this, the CEO's Guide to Using AI. And of course, using AI also means implementing something, doing something. So would you, Brian, do you want to start off? Or? Okay, good. Okay. So give us your guide for the CEO.
Well, I'm going to answer the question as for CEOs as well. But can I see a show of hands of how many of you in the room are CEOs or chiefs of staff to CEOs? I want to applaud you for being here, because what you show is something that I don't normally work with. I work for CEOs that don't believe they have something to learn, and you're here at this conference and in this room because you are curious and because you do want to learn, or maybe unlearn. But most CEOs that I work with all celebrate ego. And when I work with these CEOs, they are the ones behind the types of statistics for the MIT report. Because what they are using pilots for, they're putting it, some very interesting statistics. So CEOs, something like, this is an Axios report, something like 90% of CEOs believe that they're operating with a strategic vision for artificial intelligence, and like 40% of employees agree. And then there are those who are curious, like yourselves, who believe that ChatGPT adds more value to strategy than their own C-suite or board of directors. So when I do this type of work, I work with those 95% of companies. And so the first thing I'll notice is that those pilots are incredibly siloed. They're siloed in terms of data, they're siloed in terms of workflow, and therefore they're siloed in terms of outcomes. The number one performing transformation for an AI pilot is an end-to-end workflow transformation. So that is a cross-functional workflow. Different groups, different data sets, and different systems of record. In fact, McKinsey's Quantum Black report showed that out of 25 attributes to measure ROI, the number one was transforming an end-to-end workflow with EBIT impact. I just want to make sure you get this question.
So we return to the CEO's guide now. What's the guide? What's your advice on the guide?
You want me to take it? Okay. Thank you for raising that. The reason why generative AI, or very soon agentic, is following is not working as effectively as it could is because of organizational data. So there is tremendous pressure on CEOs placed by the boards of directors saying, what's our AI strategy? What are we doing? What are we doing? Our competitors are doing this. We're not doing that. You have to fix the plumbing first. Otherwise, it's a $500 billion mistake for the industry overall. Many organizations think they need to build their own AI, their own LLM, and that's a huge mistake. I wrote a piece in HBR and also did a webinar on it, I think last week. Your AI strategy should either be a build, buy, blend, hybrid strategy, which happens at different times. If AI is your industry, not meaning you're an AI company, but it is what gives you the competitive advantage, then you've got to build. So that was the case of JP Morgan. Jamie Dimon did something genius. He rejected $2 billion in vendor, the McKinseys, the Accentures of the world, trying to build their own AI. He said, we've got to fix our plumbing first. So they spent 2 years getting the data right and having legacy systems being able to talk to one another. Because that's another huge problem. We have all these legacy systems that don't talk to one another. Capital One, conversely, another bank in the US, decided that they were going to do a hybrid at different periods. So they really wanted to bring people along, and they also fixed their plumbing and their data in the beginning, but they ran AI pilots along with people doing the same work and proved that AI did it better. So they were able to approve mortgages instantaneously. But they really took kind of the fear out of their employees just to say, this can work in conjunction with the job that you currently do. And then I talked about, we have a pizzeria, a pizza place called Domino's. It's quite large. Their stock, I think, has gone up like 7,000% in the last, since 2010. They realized they're not an AI company. They're a pizza company. But what they ended up doing was bringing AI in for 80% of the requests. Simple requests. I want a cheese pizza and delivered, and more complex requests. I want half this, half that, light cheese on this, cut into squares. That would be dialed into humans. Now, Domino's Pizza is very popular among college kids in the US. And so, these are AI natives, the younger people, but they increased their customer satisfaction and their orders by significant presence through AI and online by 80%. So there's a real strategy. AI is not about budget and a timeline. Often boards of directors will push. I speak to a lot of these boards these days. They want things to happen in 2 years' time. It's not a 2-year strategy. You're looking at a minimum of 3 to 5. And you really need to understand what that strategy is for your company and the problem you're trying to solve.
So I'll just add to this, and then we can open it up. I think the guide is to be a role model also in this. I know it's super hard, super difficult. 2 months after ChatGPT 3 was launched, we launched in the institution I was part of the leadership team of, a global task force. I'm saying, so what? What is the implication of this? And under guardrails such as, we welcome this. Okay? And this was a global academic institution. We welcome this, but we're careful. At the time, I was out talking to peers, leader peers all over the world. I did gallops. How many of you have tried this? No, 10%. In June, that was in January. In June, how many have tried this? 25%. Right. Very slow adoption of it. So I think it's super important to role model it. I think Kevin here had a point. Kevin is the one who said there's these 3 categories. You have to role model. You're neither kind of an offloading only person or ignoring it only. You're actually doing something to create something. This is hard as heck to do, especially if you're a baby boomer or the like. It's not easy. You talk to your kids, grandchildren maybe. But there's something here about role modeling. I think that for me is a top guide to do this. You don't have to be an expert or nerd or something, but you better know what Anthropic is or Claude is, or as I say to everybody in Europe, Le Chat of Mistral, help them for God's sake. The only French and the only European LLM. Help them with data. But you have to do something. You have to be aware of what some of these tools can do. Deborah has talked about it. It's amazing. And it's so easy to offload it from YouTube. So that's the second point is, as I said before, role model, but also be really aware of the warning signs here. There's some early warning indicators that it's too comfortable. Look at messages being sent in corporations now. CEOs using ChatGPT typically, to formulate messages, they're starting to sound the same. They're starting to read in the same way. LinkedIn, all the LinkedIn messages, look at the M dashes being used. It's now called the ChatGPT dash, right? It's so obvious. It's converging. And this is the problem with the communication part of it. I'm a firm believer in embodied communication. I can look Pascal in the eye, I can look at Rita's smile, thank God, and I can look at Priyanka and all that. That we cannot sort of get that away. Use AI before whatever you do, then be yourself. This notion of embodied leadership, I think that's going to become even more important here in the future. So that's sort of part of my guidelines for this. Shall we let it loose for some comments? Or
I just want to build on a couple of things, and then let's turn it over to everyone else for sure. There's a couple of pieces I want to say. Was anybody at the dinner I was at on Tuesday night? Thank you for being there. There's a couple of you here. I apologize because I'm going to share a story that we talked about, but I'm not going to name any names. There's two things that I want to point out. So for the CEOs that I work with and the boards that I work with, the danger isn't experimenting with AI. The danger is not dreaming big enough with AI. And this is why we see the MIT-like results. So there are a lot of human reasons for that, ego being one of them, and the lack of self-awareness being another. So most CEOs, 100% of CEOs, I'll just say the fake statistics, believe they have self-awareness. But probably 10% of them do. And the 90% that don't have self-awareness don't know what they don't know. So as a motor function, they lean on what they do know. The number one thing I'm asked to help them implement with AI is cost takeout. So that's automation, that's efficiency, and that's headcount. I would imagine if we really think about it, we can't automate our way to innovation. And the way that I define innovation is creating new value, doing what we didn't do yesterday, tomorrow. So the story is of IKEA. How many have heard this IKEA story with their chatbot? Okay, a couple. Heidi, thank you. So IKEA implemented a customer service chatbot with the intention of deflection, most part, take out costs. And in that case, the true ROI in that use case is if we deflect costs, then how we pay for the AI is cutting heads. It was so effective that it deflected 47% of inbounds. It's almost 50%, pretty impressive. So that's a pretty significant amount of heads that they could cut in order to get the ROI out of AI, at least if you're thinking from an automation mindset. An augmentation mindset would look at what they did, which is what did the other 53% bump up against that they couldn't solve their problem. And what they learned is that those 53% wanted help with interior design, whether for commercial or residential real estate. And there's a reason for that. It's called the introvert economy that we could get into later, why they didn't want to go into the store. But what they did was reskill those human agents to become interior designers, and they spun it out as a pilot. And in the first year, that pilot generated 1 billion euro. So now you have a story of automation and cost takeout and augmentation to drive new growth. And that is that bimodal mindset as CEOs or as leaders that we now need to have. How do I automate and augment my way forward? And one quick last second.
Brian, we have 5 minutes left.
2 seconds on this one.
Good.
You have CEOs who are saying that they're going to cut heads. You have one out of Great Britain that said by 2030 we're going to cut 65,000 people. Who are they serving? They're not serving people. And to the point that came out of the back earlier, remember what your job is. Your job is to create value, and your job is to serve people, and your job is to help people become the best version of themselves, even with AI.
Super good. We have space for 2 questions to our famous panelists here. Where's the microphone? We start with that. All right, clock is ticking. I'm going to finish on time.
Thank you. So my name is Hanna. I'm from Fujitsu, and also the dinner was good. I want to ask you about vulnerability, because I'm a fun believer of AI, and I fully agree need to be a role model. A learning I got with AI was my daughter was sending me another question. She lives on her own. Mom, how does the dishwasher thing work? I went to ChatGPT. I didn't have a clue. Responded. She said, or actually replied, Mom, I want to, dear AI, I want to speak with my mom, not with you. And my realization was that actually my daughter was just willing to connect with her mom. This is our job as leaders. Our people look at us to be a bit vulnerable, to be the ones who don't have all the answers. How do we bring that? I love what you, Brian, said. How do we bring the vulnerability in?
I think we need to bring you to every meeting. That's it. I think humility and humanity are some of the most, and empathy are some of the most important traits for any leader to have moving forward, because those are things that AI cannot replicate. And if I could just leave with one bit of advice, because I know I can't give you a whole guide to the answer to your question, but just be human. My goodness, be human.
I would say right now CEOs are feeling the most vulnerable because there's the potential that their job will be taken out as well. And so it is time just to eat some humble pie and realize this is an unknown territory. We've never seen anything like this. So it's okay to be real and really share some of that fear that, we don't know where this is all heading. We don't know where we'll all end up. But I will leave it on a positive note, particularly as an American. We've been complaining that we've wanted the European lifestyle for decades of having more time and less stress in our lives. We're now going to get it. So that's the positive upside of AI.
I love it. It's perfect. We're going to end on a positive note, that's for sure. But time is running out a little bit. I'll call what you just said our human magic. And the message to you is hold on to it. Hold on to it in the face of AI. And you can, and you should, and you will. Question to all of you. How many of you will leave now? And this is a very dangerous question. With one single thought that you haven't thought about before in your mind. One thought or two or more. One thought, two more, a couple of them. Yeah, hands up so I see them. Yes. Okay. Thank you very much. Time is up.
Thank you.